Hello and welcome to our Apple Numbers class. My name is James Hill and I'm an instructor for Learnit. Now, why should you listen to me about numbers? Well, I've been a Mac user for over 30 years and an Apple evangelist of sorts since the very first iPhone came out. And I'm really excited to help you get to navigate the Apple iWork group of programs with Learnit training. They call this software Numbers, but oh boy, is it so much more than that. I've been working with spreadsheet programs for a very long time, and all of these programs have come a long way. Numbers is an extremely powerful program that gives you many of the same functions that the other two programs, Pages and Keynote, have in dealing with graphics and charts. If you haven't gone through our training for those two programs, be sure to do that right after you finish this one, of course. Also, if you're moving to Numbers from Microsoft Excel, you're going to be pleasantly surprised at how easy your transition is and how much more that Numbers can do. Now, what are we going to learn about in this class? Well, we'll start with the basics, opening and closing styles, cell functions, then we'll move on to content and functions, and adding charts and graphs and placing graphics and how to collaborate. We'll even wrap things up with one of my favorite parts, keyboard shortcuts. Oh, and by the way, many of these functions translate to the iPad version of Numbers as well. So, when you're finished with this training, you'll be a power user on the iPad version too. If you're enjoying these videos, please be sure to like and subscribe, and if you're looking to earn certificates and watch videos without ads, please take a moment and sign up for Learnit Anytime, our dedicated online training and subscription services. Check the link in the description for more information. As we go through this training, if you have a question that we didn't cover that you would like answered by one of our instructors, please join our off-site community. The link for that is also in the description. Oh, and before we get started, this course does have exercise files, and you'll find them in the video description below. From time to time, I'll mention that you'll probably want to pause this video and go try it yourself, so be sure to do that. But remember, if you get to a part that you would want to try and I don't mention that, go ahead and pause the video anyway. I'm not going anywhere. I'll be right here waiting patiently for you to resume the video. Also, if you need to be like Louis in Ant-Man, back it up. Back it up. You can do that too. If you miss a section, back it up and I'll say it again. Now, my hope is that you're watching this on your Mac already, so let's get ready to go. Now, the first thing we want to do, of course, is create a new spreadsheet. That's what this program is for, right? But what spreadsheet to start with? There are so many good templates here to start with. There's probably something you can use. I personally love this personal budget one right here. It's one that we use quite often at my house. Maybe your company needs you to run a financial analysis on the last quarter. There's one here just for that as well. For example, let's just create a basic blank spreadsheet right here. Just like this. Select it, click Create, and go. Simple, right? Now, notice that this is currently limited to 22 rows and 7 columns. Now, you can expand those easily by grabbing the little double lines that you see here and just keep dragging, and it'll create more of them here. Pretty easy to do there to expand the table that you need in one way. Okay, let's start with the simplest task, and that's opening Numbers. Now, if you're new to a Mac, the best place to find it is with the launcher. That's this little icon over here that looks like a bunch of sticky notes on a background, or it looks like a folder icon on your iPhone. You just click that, look for an icon that looks like a bar graph on a green background. There it is. Click that, and it'll open right up. Now, if you're like me and you use this program a lot, and I mean a lot, you might want to do this trick. Right-click on the icon, or command-click, and then click on Options, then Keep in Dock, and there it goes. It moves it right over there to the other programs that you access the most. Now, let's take just a second and identify some of the areas of our screen. First, up here where you see the word Numbers, this is our File menu. Now, this is typical of Mac-based software. You'll have the program name, which, by the way, you can click on to get to Preferences, and we'll actually get to that in a little while. But then it continues with File, Edit, Insert, Table, Organize, and so on. So when you hear me refer to the File menu, that's what we're talking about. Next up is the toolbar. That's just below the file menu. You see all these across here, and it has settings like zoom level, and you can view thumbnails and things like that, adding categories and adding different items, and that's customizable as well. And you can also reset that if you mess something up, and we're going to get there in just a few minutes. Finally, you have the sidebar. That's over here on the right. Now notice how what is available for you to edit changes depending on what you select. If we select the title, then it gives us access to that. If we select the table itself and cells within that, then we can change things about that as well. And also when we select the sheet. By the way, notice how when I clicked off of the table and the table title, it gave us access to the sidebar. It went pretty Spartan here. It gives you the opportunity to change the name of the sheet and to change the background color as well. You can make it look all kinds of different ways, but I think we'll just stick with the basic white for right now. Okay, we're a little more familiar with the layout of the program, and this will speed up your learning process. If you need to rewind this and go over that part again, I won't mind at all. I mean, this is a recorded presentation, so I won't even know about it. Just between you and me. Now, if you're ready, let's go ahead and move on. Now, say you already have a spreadsheet that a colleague was working on, or perhaps you're upgrading your version of numbers and you've been working on a spreadsheet before. Opening and closing are pretty standard here as well. You click File and then Open, or Command O works as well, and you can use that to begin searching where you last opened one, or in the root of your Documents folder on your Mac if you've never opened one before. Or you can use the keyboard shortcut Command, which I've already mentioned, Command and O. Closing a spreadsheet is just as easy. Let's make a quick change to our blank sheet. And let's just rename the table here. We'll call this Test Table. And now you can see just how this happens. So one of the great things about your Mac is that most applications are saving your changes as you go along. And even in the event of a power outage, your most recent changes are still going to be there. And now if you try to close an item without naming the file, it's going to prompt you. If you have already named the file, Numbers will not prompt you to save because it already has done that for you in the background. But let's see how this goes. We'll click File and then Close. And because we haven't named this one yet, we're just going to name it Test Table. And there you go. Now that one is saved. Now, to get ready to get started, let's go ahead and have a blank slate to work with. Let's open the email list spreadsheet in the demo folder. We're going to have some fun with this one. Now, I know some of the names in here have caught your attention and you're itching to play with this one, but give it just a minute. We're going to talk about something else first. And no, none of those are their real email addresses. We're just playing around here. The Pages does have some additional educational content of its own that's here to help you understand how many of its functions work. If you've been working with spreadsheets for any time at all, you know that we could create a class that lasted 12 solid hours and really not cover much of anything. Now, I promise you, we're not going to keep you here that long, but if you really want to go in depth on some of the things in a spreadsheet, first, check Learnit to see if the topic that you need is covered, and if you don't see it, request it, and our awesome team will look into that for you. But for right now, with numbers training, let's open a template and show you how you can edit and create a great spreadsheet just using a template. Let's click File and New, and then let's go down and select the Home Improvement template. You'll see it's in My Recents here, but if you go down to Personal Finance, just below there, down to Personal, you'll see Home Improvement. We're going to open that one up. Now, if you've gone through our Pages or Keynote training, you'll know what this little icon means right here. That means that the photo is just a placeholder. Now, I just happen to have 3 photos in our demo folder labeled Home Improvement 1, 2, and 3. And if you click on the icon, or if you right-click on the image and click Replace, it's going to take you to your Photos app on your Mac, which is a great program on its own, but if you're like me, you tend to use that for personal photos. That's going to sync up with the photos that are on your iPhone. So in this case, we want to just click on the placeholder and then click on Image in the sidebar and click Replace. Let's use 1 for this one. And then 2 for this one. And 3 for this one. That looks better. Much, much better. Now, also, if you need to edit text, then you can double click on the cell that it's in and it will place the cursor in there so you can move it where you need to edit something, or highlight the whole thing with a triple click there as well. Also, notice how if we change the amounts in these cells here, it's going to change how our charts work as well, because they're drawing from that information. Let's take this up to an extra grand here for other. Let's do some landscaping, and you see how that changes our budget and our actual. And let's say we decided to skimp on this bathroom and take it down to $2 grand. And you see that begins to change things already in your charts there. Now, suppose you need to create a similar spreadsheet every week or every month for a report. You're going to want to customize a template instead of trying to re-edit that sheet every time. Let's use the invoice template to do that. We're not going to save this one for now. This is just having a little fun. But let's go ahead and go to New, and let's go down to the invoice. Now, we're just going to do a quick customization here by changing the company name. We'll call it Big Company. There we go. And, of course, who it's from, like this. We'll just do some quick customization. We'll leave that as it is. And there you go. Sincerely yours, James Hill. And notice how it auto-corrected the text for me there as well. Now, of course, you can change colors, but we'll save that for down the road just a bit. Just a little bit of easy customization here. Now, let's click File, and going to save as a template in this case. Now, you have the option to add it to the template chooser, or you can save the template if you need to share this with others in your organization. There you go. Now your template is available to use whenever you need it. Of course, we can edit this with graphics and change colors and even place graphs and charts in that. All of those will be a part of the template that you create. Okay, let's do a little more terminology, and we're going to use one more template to do that with. Let's use the employee schedule template, and let's get that open up, and we'll work on that as our base for this terminology. Now, here are our terms. The items that I'm clicking here now, those are tables. See how they show up with an icon to select over here in the upper left corner, and you can also drag them out a little farther, but these are all tables that are in different places on our sheet. Now, if you click the plus sign up here next to the word schedule in green up here, that will add another sheet, another blank sheet to our spreadsheet file. Now, by default, it'll add a table to the new sheet. It is a spreadsheet program after all, but now you see that each file can have multiple sheets, and each sheet can have multiple tables, kind of like the guy going to St. Ives. He had 7 sacks with 7 cats. Anyway, we won't get into all that. Anyway, each sheet can have multiple tables. Now, we're going to go back to the first sheet, the one labeled schedule, and you see that we have one more item on our sheet here, and that is a chart. It's just one of the items that you can insert into a sheet from the toolbar right up here on top. Now, just a few more items before we start making our way to the deep end of the pool. If you need to locate a spreadsheet that you've already created, you can search for it from the Open File dialog box. Just click File and Open, and then you get this nice little search bar on the upper right-hand corner where you can start looking for words that are not only in the title, but you can look for words that are contained in the document itself, not just in the title. It'll look for text in the document. So if you can't remember the name, but you can remember something that's in the file, that is a really big help. Now, if you need to delete a whole spreadsheet file, maybe you created one too many duplicates, then just right-click on the file name and then click on Show in Finder, because you can't delete it from here. You'll have to right-click there and click Move to Trash to get it out of the way. Now, printing is also a breeze compared with other programs. When you click File and then Print, or Command P, like this, it brings up a print preview box so you can see exactly how your document will fit on a page based on your print size. Now you can zoom it, you can change the print orientation, and you're going to see exactly how this looks based on the way you lay it out. You can also select to print just one sheet or all the sheets in a file, and each one can even have its own zoom and layout. You'll have to click print one more time right down here before you're done. Okay, one last thing. If you want to customize your toolbar, we'll get rid of this one so you can see this. If you want to customize the toolbar, it's as simple as to right-click or control-click, if you're that prone, and click on Customize. And then you can drag any of these items directly into the toolbar in the open spaces up here. Or, if you get it where you're messed up and can't really find anything, you can grab the default toolbar, drag it right up here, and it resets the whole thing all there for you. Okay, why don't you take a minute, pause the video, grab a sip of water, try all the things we've just done, and I'll rejoin you whenever you're ready. Okay, let's make a table. Now, this isn't your kitchen table. For that, you're going to need to look for a different video. No, we're making digital tables. So let's slip over to the blank sheet that we're going to create right here by clicking the plus sign. And now, remember that it already created a table for us. See, if you click that table, you can use the controls to expand it different ways, and you can move it around. Even if you grab this right over here, drag this table around, you see how easy that is. Now, if you need to add another table on this sheet, just click Table, and let's pick that one right there. And we're going to just drag this up, and let's move this one over just a bit so they're not interfering with each other. Great. See, and by the way, you can also choose different styles and colors on these. If you don't like that one, just insert another one. We can select a different color. Let's use this green one right here. There we go. And again, you can move all these. You can also delete them that way. Click on the dot in the upper right-hand corner and hit the delete key on your computer, and it's gone. Gone, but not forgotten. Now, when you're ready to edit, you can select an individual cell by just clicking on the cell. If you need to select a row, select the row number and the whole row will be selected there. Or if you need a column, select the column letter, just like that. Easy, breezy, beautiful. Now, if you need to add a column, just click on the arrow that appears when you click over the column letter, and you can add a column before or add after. You just have to decide where you want it to be. Rows work the same way. Click the arrow that shows up next to the row indicator, and you can select to add one above or below, before or after. But if you want to add the row after and you really wanted it before, well, then you just select the row number and drag it to the place you want it to be. Just like that. Columns work the same way, by the way. Just select the column that you want to move and then drag it to the spot that you want it to be. Merging cells works like most other spreadsheet programs. You just select the cells that you want to merge, like these two right here, and then you can right-click or control-click and go down to Merge Cells. Very easily done. See how that looks? And then you can also do the same thing to unmerge them. You right-click or command-click and click Unmerge Cells. This is a really beneficial function if you need to make a title or a comparison or something along those lines. Okay, let's play dress up. Did you notice that when you selected a table, the sidebar changed? When you click on the Format part, you can. Make sure that you select the Table tab within the Format bar there, and you've got several style options available. You can even customize one right there, but we'll talk about that soon enough. You can change from the colors here like this or this. Let's do this just for the fun of it. So let's select the header row like this, and then you can click on the cell. Now you can change the fill as you do that by clicking on Cell over here in the Format bar, and then under Fill, we're going to change that. You can do all kinds of different fills in there. Let's do a cool gradient fill. Yeah, I like that much better. Now watch this. We're going to add a column just like that. And look, it keeps the header along with that. Now, you can also save this style if you go back over to Table, and then you select beyond the ones that you see, click the plus sign, and there you go, your very own personal table style. Now I've shown you how to grab these buttons on the table and expand the rows and the columns and how to drag them around, but you can also right-click or control-click to lock that table into place. Just like that. And now that table can't be moved anywhere. Oh, by the way, you can also lock and unlock it from the sidebar over here under the Arrange tab. We're going to unlock that one now. Very easy. Lock it or unlock it, keep it in place right where you can't move it. Okay, now it's your turn. Pause the video, do all of the stuff that we've talked about in this module, and get used to the program just a little bit, and I'll see you soon. And we're back. For this section, we're going to be playing inside of a table. Now, some of what we do will apply to things outside the table on the sheet itself, but for right now, we're going to focus on the table. Now, adding text to a table is simple. You just click on the cell and start typing. Just like that. Or you can double click and start typing. Oh, by the way, here's a quick tip. Watch this. Notice how it's auto-filling something that's above it in the cell. You just you can arrow down to select it, hit enter, and it will automatically add that text from the cell above. Very easy, as a real time saver. Now, what if you want an object to be inside of a cell? Well, first you have to create the object. Let's do a circle. So we're just going to create a shape, and we'll take a circle here and drop it right there. Now, object is selected where you can see all the 6 grow points on there. We're going to press Command X or right click and select Cut. Now it's gone, right? Nope, it's being saved in the buffers. Now we're going to double click in a cell, get the cursor flashing there, and you can Command V or right click and click Paste. And now your object is inside the cell. By the way, this is the only way this works is with shapes and media. You can't paste a chart into a cell, and I'm pretty sure that if you paste a table into a cell, you might disrupt the normal flow of space-time. I'm kidding, of course. That would only happen if you did that repeatedly, I think. And you can copy, cut, and paste data just like you would in a text document. See, we can take this and we'll select all the text, we'll Command X, and then we'll move it to another cell. See, very easy with our demo text there. Okay, enough jokes. This is serious business, these spreadsheets. So did you know that you can streamline your data entry if you have a particular type of data by formatting the cells to match what you need? Now this is especially helpful with dates and currency. Let's give it a try. So over here, let's just select a couple of cells, and then over in the sidebar, we're going to tell it that we want to change the type of data that goes in here. So data format goes from automatic to currency. Now, because I'm already in the United States, it assumes a US dollar here. And you can select the type of currency, though, just by telling it which one you want. We're going to keep this on US dollar for my sake because my brain can't hold all that. You can even have it to separate, show the thousands separator. You can use a counting style. You can even tell it that you want your negative numbers to be in red instead. Very, very cool there. You can choose time and date formats and show how you want that set up. You can create custom formats if you need to, like this. So a custom format you can create as you need it. So for instance, if you needed to format a cell to show inches, you could do it like this. So we'll click under data format. We'll go to create custom format. Now in the pop-up box, we're going to name this inches. Now we're going to make sure that we're creating a number format. So we're going to change this from date and time to number. Good. Next, in the decimal section, let's see, we're going to bring in decimal section, and there we go. We'll drag that into place. And you see how that has a roll down on it? So we're going to tell it that we want to use fractions instead. And now to make this inches, we'll just add the end quotation marks, which represents inches. Click OK, and now we've got this selected as data format of inches, so let's tell it we want 0.25, and it's going to tell us half an inch. Very cool. Now, you're going to save that, and you've got inches. There you go. There's your custom data format. Now, what if you have too much text for the cell? Simple, just wrap it up. Just right-click or control-click on the cell itself and make sure that the box is checked for Wrap Text. Now, most of this is going to be selected for you automatically, but then it's going to wrap text like this. See, wraps the text for you automatically to go based on the cell size, which you can change right up here. Now this next one is very helpful when you need things to stand out as you're editing data. Conditional highlighting makes it so that your cell will it'll basically stand out more when a certain condition is met. Now, we haven't done formulas or functions yet, so let's set this one up to just change as we enter some text. Now, in our demo document under the first page of casting calls here, you notice we've got a lot of people with Chris in their name, Chris or Christopher or Christian, and we want to see all of those to highlight. We're going to make this where it turns yellow when the name Chris is somewhere in the text of that cell. So here we go. We're going to select a section of cells just like this. Sorry, didn't mean to drag that one down, but we'll select them all with a Shift key. And then over in the sidebar under Cell, we'll click Conditional Highlighting. Now we're going to create a rule and text. And we're going to go down to text contains CHRIS for Chris, and we'll tell it we want a yellow fill when it does that. Click Done and see what happens, and there you go. All the ones with Chris in their name. Now you can make these do even more and add all kinds of rules, but that's a class for a different day. Now that highlighting was good, but a better way to do this would be to filter the data, or the data, or the data. That way all you see is the particular thing that you're looking for. It breaks it down to only the relevant information that you need. Let's keep this in the Chris line and get it to show us only those with Chris in the name, just like we highlighted them. Now for this, in your sidebar, you're going to click on Organize, and then we'll click on Filter. Now we can do some quick filters, but we want it to check all the names that contain Chris. So we're going to click on Add a Filter. And of course you see the quick filters that come up. In this case, we're going to select text under first name. And then we're going to select text here and contains. And then we'll type in CHRIS. Hit enter. And there you go. Now you only see the ones with that as part of their name. Now let's sort those by last name now. You know, as a matter of fact, let's just sort everyone. Let's delete that filter so that we can see what's going on here. And you can actually do this a couple of ways. You can click the arrow by the column or row that you want to sort by, in this case, column A, and then you can go down to Sort Ascending, and it will assume that you want the whole table sorted by that column. Now, if you want more control over the process, over here, you select the Sort tab under Organize, and then we want to sort the entire table, and we want to add the column Last Name, and then Ascending. And then let's add another column and select first name so that it's last name and then first name. And there you go. Everybody's nice and sorted out. Now, let's suppose you need to categorize these contacts. Perhaps you want to make personal visits. Then you might want to categorize the zip codes and get the ones in the same city. So let's do just that. So this time we'll click Categories under the Organize tab. We'll select the zip code as the category, and you can see that it breaks the entire table down by zip code and then sections it off. Okay, the final portion of this section, and this is a little bit long, but let's go ahead with it. Let's talk about pivot tables. Now for this, we're going to have more numbers in our sheet, so let's open the sales data file in your demo folder. We'll close this one, and then let's go down to Open, and open up the sales data. There you go. Now, you see we've got a full spectrum of data to work with here, but what if we want to see who sold the most and maybe sort the reps by region to see what they sold? Well, for that, we need to create a pivot table. This will allow you to sort the data in multiple ways. Here's how to do that. First, click the pivot table button right here in the toolbar. Now, notice it created a new sheet, and it created a new table for us, and it opened up all the pivot options over here in the sidebar to the right. Now for our example, first, let's pick the reps, so we'll select that. That puts all their names in that first column. Now let's add what they sold, so what we're going to do is we're going to drag item into the columns down here. There you go. Now as a final touch, let's see who had the best performance in each region. So a pivot table is going to give you that much to work with. So let's go to region, and that breaks it down. Great. See, pivot tables give you so much to work with. Let's go ahead and add the unit cost in each one of these. Great. That's excellent. Or maybe the totals, and we'll take the unit costs out. There we go. Now we've got some data we can work with in this pivot table. Okay, now go ahead and play with these sheets. Be sure to pause the video while you do. I'll be back with you in just a few minutes, and we'll continue working with this as we go through the rest of the section. Now here's where I wish we had royalties to play music to introduce sections. I could play Blinded Me with Science for this one. Let's get technical with some formulas. Now you can very quickly get the total number of a column like this. Let's go to our first page, our first sheet rather, and we'll select the bottom cell here, and we'll hit the equal sign, and then we'll scroll to the top, select all the cells on the way down, and it assumes that we want the sum. Hit enter, and we've got the sum of all the items sold here. Now, if you want to change the function, like to find an average number of units sold, you just change the formula. Pressing the equal sign always puts you in formula mode on a cell, and then you just begin to type the formula you need, or you can select it from the sidebar right over here. Another quick access spot, although it does take a couple of quick clicks, is by using Insert from the File menu. So, for instance, here, and let's get out of that one. We're going to select this cell and then Insert, and you can go down and tell it you want a formula and go from there. All right, let's flip back over to our pivot table to show you something kind of neat here. Now first, we're just going to do a simple formula using data from cells in different places. And maybe they're not so simple. We're going to use the max function and the if function to make a definition. By the way, one of the things about our pivot table is that you can't edit the number of rows and columns. Those are actually determined by the data in the table it's referencing. See, you can't drag this farther or this farther, but that's not a problem. We're just going to add another table right here on the sheet by using the icon in our toolbar. So we'll click Table, and we'll select this blue one right here. Easy enough. So now we want to adjust this to just one row and 3 columns, but first we have to tell the table that we don't want a header or footer in order to make it 1 row and 3 columns. So we've got 0 here and 0 here, and now we're going to take this down to 1 over here and 3 over... Oh, did I mention before that you could adjust the number of rows and columns over in the sidebar? Oh yeah, that's a bonus tip. There you go. Pro tip on how to adjust the number of rows and columns. All right, we're also going to take away the title so that all we have are the 3 cells right there. So in this first one, we're going to type best regional sales. There we go. Thank you, spell check. Now in the second one, that's where we want to use the max function. So we'll hit the equal sign and we'll begin typing max. Now when we hit enter, that's going to bring up the max function and what needs to happen here. So what we wanted to do is to check 3 different values here. Our central total, the east total, and the west total. Now notice how that it's not only giving you the reference for the cell and the row and the column, but it's also giving you the table and sheet name that it's working with as well. All of those are entered for you automatically. Now click the green checkbox, and there you go. It determined that this number was the greatest of the 3, which we can tell easily with our eyes, but this lets it figure it for you automatically. By the way, if you've worked with spreadsheets before, the curved look, that's representation of the parentheses that are in a formula. Numbers just adds it for you automatically. Now, No errors in that one. So again, still staying pretty simple with our functions. We're going to use the if function here. So we'll select this cell and we'll hit equals and brings up the functions. Now we're going to type if and hit enter. So our first expression, we want to see if this cell equals this one. And if it does, then it will say west. If not, we want it to say if again. See, we're nesting them. If this is equal to this cell, then we want it to come up with the text that says east. And if not, we'll do one more if statement here. If, and hit enter. So the expression again, if this cell is equal to this one, then we're going to have it say central. Now, a thing about the text is if you don't put the text in quotation marks, then it will begin bringing up other functions. So you want to put text in quotation marks, or it's going to start adding other things in there. So in this case, we're going to tell it if not, then error. If there's anything else left. Now, see, it's automatically got our curves over here for parentheses, and we'll check the checkbox. And there you go. Central is the winner. Now, by the way, if you need any help with formulas and functions, there are full descriptions of each one that show up in the sidebar when you go to insert a formula. It all comes up right over here and gives you the full definition of each one as you select them right over here in the sidebar. They also have some examples if you go down and look and scroll down. All right, now it's your turn. Go forth and do as I have done, and I will see you right here when you get back. Wow, back so soon? All right, well, I could insert another pun here about charting a course or doing something that's previously uncharted, but I'll leave that for a whole nother section. Let's work with some charts for a bit. You can add charts in two different ways, using the toolbar or using Insert up here in the File menu and selecting Charts. Now, if you want to see what they look like, of course, use the toolbar, or if you need a description, use Insert. Either way, your chart will insert in a clear space on your sheet. Let's go back over here to our pivot table, and for this one, I think let's use a 3D bar chart like this one. Now, this is easily placed in the lower right-hand corner, and see, it already starts pulling from some data on our sheet. Numbers is automatically going to try to use it the best way possible, but you can change whether rows or columns are emphasized. Now, of course, you can move this chart and resize it by grabbing the dots over here on this side. That'll spread it out a little bit. And you can also select it. You can change the size by entering the points that you want it to be over on the Arrange tab over here as well. Now, if you don't have any data to work with, a chart will assume data in the nearest table, kind of like this. Let's add another sheet, and then let's throw a 3D pie chart in here. Now, notice how the pie chart is all blue. The cells on the blank table are highlighted as well. That's where your data is coming from. So if we enter a few numbers in here, you'll see that it updates the chart as you go. 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, just for the fun of it. And you kind of see how it updates the chart as you're going along. That's because that's where your data is pulling from. If you want to update the look of your chart, you can do that from the sidebar over here. Let's change back to the pivot table and pick this chart, and you do that by selecting Chart, and then down at the very bottom you'll see Chart Type. Let's change this to a 3D stacked column. Oh, that looks a lot better. You can even change the color scheme of that as you go along. I kind of like the original better personally. You can add titles and captions, change what the legend does. You can change that from a 3D scene to the chart depth. You have all kinds of options over here, and you're not locked in once you choose the style. Just get it started. Okay, go have some fun with the charts, and I'll wait right here until you're done. And we know that none of this data means anything without descriptions. Text is very important to let the world know what they're looking at. All of the following aspects that we deal with work just like they do in Pages or Keynote, but they primarily take place within a cell. So let's go back to the first sheet in this file. To select text, you can double-click to get into the cell and then place the cursor where you need to make an edit, or just like with Pages, you can click and hold to select text and drag across to select text that you need to change. Now, adding text, of course, is just like that, except if you just need to replace text, you can just select the cell and start typing to replace the text that's there. Oh, and if you mess up and need to start over, just hit Escape. It'll undo what you've done. Now, you can use the sidebar to change the look of text as well. Let's go back over here to our pivot table sheet and select a cell here. You can just select text and then down to style. And now you have full control over the look, from the font to the size to bold, italics. All of these are available to really dress up the look of your spreadsheet. Now, paragraph styles are also available. Let's update the table title using just that. We'll select this, and then over here, notice we have the option of changing that to just a standard title. That's a little big, so let's take it down to just a heading instead. Great. Now we'll just center that up, and that looks good. So you can create a custom style as well by clicking the plus sign and create your own style. For more detail on that, be sure to check out our Pages training session, where I spend a lot of time going over how to create custom paragraph styles. Of course, the standard keyboard shortcuts that we all know: Command B for bold, Command I for italicize, and Command U for underline, all are there. There are lots more keyboard shortcuts to come with text and everything else, so stay tuned all the way to the end for my favorite part, keyboard shortcuts. Now, you can use other standard word processing character edits like drop caps, things like that, but only in text that is in a shape or text that is in a special 8 selection handle text box. Okay, let me explain that. So on our pivot table sheet right here, let's add a shape, and we'll just do something simple like a black square. Now let's drag this into a rectangle, but you see what I'm talking about on the 8 selection handles like this. See, there's one on each corner and then one in the center of each side. There are 8 selection handles. So now let's just add some text. And see, over in the sidebar under text, you notice that drop cap is now available to do. And you can select the different styles of drop cap that are all there for you to work with. Easy enough, right? So, there you go. That's how we can dress this up with a drop cap. Of course, aligning and spacing text is available for all text throughout the document over here in the sidebar. You can left, center, right, even full justify your text. You can change your line spacing down here. You can even create bullets and lists right down here at the bottom. All of those are available throughout the entire file. For instance, if we go to sales data, now for this we have to triple click and select the text, but you notice bullets and lists is available for that as well. Not going to edit it here, but you see that it is available for you to work with. Now, you can add and edit equations to your sheets, and I'm not just talking about formulas and functions here. These would be to place a mathematical equation where you can see the full equation using something like MathML or LaTeX. Now, these can be inserted into a cell or even by themselves to be moved around, kind of like this. So I'll click off our table, and then we'll click up here in the File menu to Insert, and then Equation. Now, I happen to know that Einstein's mass energy equation is E equals mc, the upper caret, and then 2. That gives us a squared. We'll insert, and there you go. It places it right here. Now, you can drag this around. You can even drag here on the dot and expand the size if you want to resize it. Now, links are usually generated automatically, like in our email list example. Numbers will recognize that you're entering an email address or a website. If you want to add a link manually, it's as simple as selecting what you want to have the link and then selecting Add Link. In this case, we'll add a link to our equation, and you see it can be a web page, an email, a phone number, or even a sheet in our document. We'll select that, and we'll tell it that we want it to go to the pivot table when we click that link. See, that's very helpful if you need to have a link to a page way down in your document, if you have a lot of sheets in your file and you need to get to another one without having to scroll for it. Now, if you need to emphasize text in a part of your sheet, you can highlight it by adding a background color to it. Just select the cell with the text, or even text in a text box, like this one, and then click on the cogwheel over here under Text for Advanced. Gives you the Advanced Options roll down, and then you can just use the background color for the text. In this case, we'll choose a nice shade of pink, and there you go. Now your text has been highlighted with a nice background color that'll make it stand out. Okay, one final thing with text. If you need to separate text with lines, rules is actually the term that's used in this program, then you can do that by clicking the Layout tab when the text is selected here, and you'll notice that it has borders and rules down here at the bottom. You can choose a solid line, and you can tell it that you want it at the bottom or completely surrounding it, top and bottom, any of these. You can even choose a dotted line if you want to make sure that that is ruled apart and separated and has it where you want it to be. Now, I know that's a lot to work with in this section, so go ahead and take a few extra minutes and do all these examples, and then I'll be with you when you're done. Welcome back. Hopefully you took a minute to get some liquid refreshment of your choice during that break. Now let's make our spreadsheets really stand alone by adding some window dressing. Wait, can I say window dressing in a Mac training class? Well, so remember the toolbar? We've already been inserting charts and even a simple shape and a table. Now let's use it to place some other things. You've got a lot of options up here, even though we have only one in the toolbar that we haven't used yet, and that's the media icon. You can choose other items from the file menu by clicking Insert. Clicking on the media icon gives you a lot of other options as well. Clicking Photos will allow you to choose photos from the Photos app on your Mac. Now, if your computer was provided by your business, then you may have the option to use those. But if you're like me and this is a personal MacBook, those are going to be pics of my kids, so we're not going to go there. Instead, you can click Choose and select an image. Now here we happen to have a PNG of our big company logo. We'll just insert that into our document, and there it is. It's nice and big. Let's shrink it down just a bit, and then we'll move some things around to make it fit on our page here with everything else. There you go. Now you have a lot of options in shapes as well. The best way to insert shapes, in my opinion, is to use the toolbar because you can see what you're inserting there. Now I know this may seem a bit redundant, but let's use the chart icon that we see right here. Let's use that one. We're going to place that in here, and there you go. There's some shapes. And so it'll give us some things that we can work with to put a nice heading on this page later. Now, adding lines and arrows is pretty similar. You just select the type of line you want and place it. Why don't we emphasize the winner here with a curved arrow? Now, this can be a little tricky to get it into the right place, but we'll go Insert, our shape, and there's our curved line. Now we're going to drag one end down here to this box, and we'll take this end and drag it up here to Central's numbers. There we go. And we can even go in and right click on this arrow. We can go over here to the style, and we can tell that we want endpoints to have an arrow, and we'll increase the size of that so that everyone can see who the winner is. We'll make the arrow red just for the fun of it. Give it that arrow endpoint, and there you go. That's how to add a line with an arrow. Of course, video and audio can be added to a spreadsheet as well using the media button. Let's add some congratulations sounds for our central division here. We'll just click on media and then we'll click on choose so we can get some audio here. If you click on audio, that's going to let you choose music that's in the music app on your Mac. So if you need to use something else, you have to click media and then other, just like that. And then using the Finder, let's use the Tada file we have. Insert that, and let's give it a test. Hooray! Oh, sidebar here. Numbers actually automatically sets your video to the most compatible settings when you save or share your document. That way, your video can play back on even older Macs or devices. Now, to make sure that it's doing this for you, you're going to need to go into the settings like this. Click on the word Numbers in the upper left-hand corner, and then go to Preferences. Now, right here on the very first one, you'll see some things in the center, adding media, and you'll notice that if these two boxes are checked, movies will be converted so they'll play on all devices. Make sure that all those are checked, and then your video can play on almost any device. I mean, we can't say any device because if the battery is dead, the video won't play on that one. Now, Apple has really outdone themselves with this next thing. If you have an iPhone or an iPad, you can draw right on your spreadsheet and you can animate it as well. Here's how to do it. Now, see, I've opened our spreadsheet on my iPad and I can move and scroll as I need to. Now, we're going to add a drawing like this. You tap the plus sign up here to add, and then on the Media tab, and then select Drawing. Now, you can create a drawing on your file that will accent an area or even spell things out if you like. Well, now, let's move back to the Mac to animate that drawing. Now, see, we're back on our Mac so that we've got the file open again, and that drawing is showing up right here. Now, click on the drawing, and in the Format sidebar, you'll see the button that says Animate Drawing. And you can tell what the duration is going to be, and we can even play to see how that's going to look. Very cool, right? There you go. Customized. Congratulations. Okay, guys, it is that time again. Pause the video. Try all the things in this section for yourself, and hopefully you have an iPhone or an iPad so you can try that drawing too, and I'll see you back here in just a few minutes. Hey there, welcome back. Now this next section is ultra easy mainly because we've been using many of these functions as we go. They're a bit intuitive. Let's begin. First, positioning objects on a sheet we've already done. You just select the object, select the table, grab the corner, move things around, drag it where you want it to go. It's just not that difficult to do. We've already made these decisions a couple of times, right? Now, resizing is also like we've already done. Select an object, grab one of the corners, drag it as big or small as you like. Now, once you have an item, you can also resize it. You can rotate it or flip it using the controls right over here. Now, that doesn't look so good in that angle, does it? Let's take it back to the original one. You can also flip it, mirror it, any of those options as well. In the sidebar, just like that. Now you have even more options than what we've looked at with object fills. You can fill with a simple color, which we've done, but you can also use gradients and images just like this. Let's take our graph object right here. This will do fine. Now you can click on the Style tab and see your options. See, we get to choose the color that's up here if you like to do that, but we can also give it a gradient or even an image fill. Just like that. Cool, right? You can even lighten things up a bit by grabbing the opacity slide and dragging that up or down as you need to. Now, all of these functions work for shapes and photos, but you cannot do that to a table because, that's kind of the whole point of a spreadsheet, to give emphasis to the table. Now let's add a border to our This is a Test box and make it stand out just a little. Now borders are over here in the sidebar as well, right over here. Put a line. Now we've got something there, but something's just missing. I know. Let's add a reflection and maybe a drop shadow. See, this is simple yet elegant. Click the button for reflection. Now you can change the amount of reflection there is, or even the opacity of the reflection, the opacity of the object, of course, and how much reflection it has there. And now for the drop shadow. Let's select a drop shadow, and there you go. You can even choose the angle, the offset, the blur, the opacity. You've got a lot of control with those sliders right over here in the sidebar. Now, if you feel like you need to add a caption to your new work of art, you can do that too, just by selecting title or caption here, and you can add your text right there. Let's say that this is a work of art. There we are. Title and caption all done. Wow, that looks absolutely mediocre. Anyway, if you want to save the object style, you can do that right over here in the format bar. We'll select our object, get it back open on the sidebar, and then under style, navigate over to an open spot and click the plus sign, and then that gives you that style as one that you can do. Okay, I told you all this was easy, but now it's your turn. I don't think you're going to be very long. Pause the video, try this part yourself. I think I'm going to make myself a latte, and we'll get back to all this in just a few minutes. And we are back once again. Now I know this is a spreadsheet program, but there are some great writing tools you can use in here as well. For instance, if you're typing text, numbers, or formulas and you just mess up, Command-Z is your keyboard friend. Of course, you can go to Edit in the File menu and hit Undo as well. And you can hit Redo as many times as you need to and go back several levels. If you go back too far, maybe you actually like what you put in, select Edit and Redo or press Shift-Command-Z. That's your other keyboard tip there. This also works on objects that you place on your sheet as well. Now, if you're having trouble with a word, maybe not sure of the meaning, or maybe you need a synonym, you can look up words like this. Select your text with triple click, and then you can right click and choose Look Up Word. Now, you've got the opportunity to look at different dictionaries and thesaurus, even Apple definitions. You can see what Siri knowledge there is here, which will show you a Wikipedia article and different things like that. You can even check multiple dictionaries and check Siri suggested websites about your desired word, in this case, pencil. Now, if you have text you need to replace, Find and replace works much like it does in a typical word processing document. For instance, we just found out that the rep whose last name is Parent is actually spelled with 2 A's, not like an actual parent. So let's fix that. Just go to the File menu, and then we're going to click Edit, and then Find. Now, let's type in the text we're looking for, in this case, Parent. And then click the cogwheel over here. We want to make sure that we have replace, and we're going to replace it with Parent, and we'll have it find all of them, and we'll have it replace all. Now we've got all of that correctly spelled, all fixed. Of course, the reason that the name was misspelled to begin with was the fact that spell check automatically works on your Mac through every program. See, when you purposely type something that is incorrect, it underlines it in red for you. Now, you can also right-click and ignore the spelling or learn the spelling. Of course, we're going to hit Escape and take that back to East. But you see how spell check works automatically for you across the board on your Mac. You can have it learn spelling, and of course, now the name Parent is added to our dictionary because we did a find and replace. It was done for us automatically. Okay, one more thing before we finish this section. Adding a comment is as easy as selecting the cell or object that you want to comment on and then clicking on the comment button up here in the toolbar. There you go. Now every time you hover over that indicator, it's going to pop up with that particular comment. Now when you go to print your sheet and you want the comments to be shown, just click on Print Comments, and it will add that and the note from that particular sheet. Okay, now here's your text overview. Pause the video for a few moments and go ahead and do all of this on your own. And when you come back, we're going to learn all about sharing. Welcome back to our neighborhood. Sharing is caring, you know. Okay, bad Mr. Rogers impressions aside, it's time to get this thing out of captivity in your Mac and into the wild. Collaboration on the Mac has been taken to a whole new level with the later versions of Numbers and the more recent operating systems. Depending on your connection speed, you can literally see edits from others in real time. This is a game changer for remote work especially, and as we see more decentralization of office space, absolutely necessary. One of the things you're going to need to do is to set your author name and choose your color. Now, this will allow you to see at a glance who made what change on your sheet. Now, first part of this, you're going to need to go into your program settings by clicking the word Numbers and then Preferences. And right here on the General tab, you'll see the author name, and you see mine right down there, if your name's not there already. Now that that's all set, we're going to close out of this and set the color. Now to do that, you'll click on View, and then Comments, and Author Color. I happen to like the gray-blue personally, but you can choose your favorite. Now, any comments on any spreadsheets that you've previously created will also show in that color, and of course, any that you share on iCloud will also show in that color. We'll go over that in just a minute. Okay, let's get this thing out there. Now, first, you can just share your spreadsheet in multiple formats from the Share option right here in the File menu. You can send a copy via mail, messages, AirDrop, notes. Any of those options will bring up a dialog box for you here. And of course, you can share a standard number spreadsheet and even require a password to open it. You can create a PDF for someone to view. And note, you can use the print settings that you established when you went to print on this so that you know exactly what is on which sheet, or you can have it force it to fit each sheet onto a single page if you like. You can export this to an Excel spreadsheet, and you have the option for each sheet to be a worksheet or one per table. You can also, under Advanced Options, select XLS so that it makes it compatible with older versions of Excel. You also have the option of exporting comma-separated values or tab-separated values as well, if you have a colleague who's using something like OpenOffice. But of course, your graphics and text formatting won't show up in any of those. But really, your best life is inviting people to collaborate with you. Okay, to collaborate with others, you simply click on the Collaborate button here in the toolbar, or under the Share menu, click on Collaborate with Others. It brings up the same dialog box. Now, you can send the link via email, via messages. You can copy the link if you want to send that out via an Office Slack chat or maybe another Office chat box, or AirDrop is one of the real strengths of this. If you're sharing with people in the same room and they all have Macs, there's real-time collaboration available by using AirDrop. Now, of course, when an invitation comes in to you, you can click Accept and collaborate on a worksheet with them. Now, as you collaborate on a shared spreadsheet, you'll see edits that you and others make appearing in real time. Cursors and selections of text and objects will actually appear where others are currently editing, and it will show their color as well as your color. And of course, you can move your pointer over a cursor to see who is making that particular edit at that time. If you're the owner of a shared spreadsheet, you can also change the sharing settings under the Collaborate button as well. You can change the settings for everyone or just an individual with changing it to people you invite or anyone with the link, and permissions as who can make changes or view only for the entire sheet or just an individual. If you need to stop sharing a spreadsheet when everything is done, you want to leave it alone for printing or whatever, you can stop sharing the sheet under the Collaborate button as well. Okay, last topic in this section, you can collaborate using shared folders with other Mac users, and they have to be using at least Mac OS Catalina, iOS 13, or iPad OS 13. Now, this allows you to use iCloud to share more than just one spreadsheet at a time. You can share the folder and allow access to a host of documents in that folder. It'll look like this. Using your Finder, of course, navigate to your iCloud Drive, And you see I've got one ready here, a shared folder, and I'm going to right click on it and then go down to share this folder in iCloud Drive. And then you can send it out just like it did in Numbers, just like you're sharing the sheet, except this time you're sharing an entire folder. Okay, go and share some stuff, and I'll be right here when you get back. All right, let's get organized. Now, one of the best places to do that is using iCloud. Why? Because you can access your files from pretty much anywhere, even a Windows PC. Apple has updated iCloud so that even if you wind up somewhere without your laptop or iPad, you can still edit your Numbers document right at iCloud.com. Now, iCloud is also the best place to transfer between devices that you own. Put the document in iCloud, and it's there for everything. Now, if you're transferring to someone else's device, the best thing to use is AirDrop. It's just the most efficient way to get your document onto another device. You can send it via messages or email like we've already looked at, but AirDrop is definitely the best way to go. Of course, you're probably going to need to import Excel spreadsheets at some point, and Numbers makes this super easy. It's as simple as File and Open. Here we go. Just like this. File, Open, and we actually have an Excel list right here. Super easy, right? Numbers will also open comma and tab separated value files as well, just as easily. When you get a large sheet going with a lot of graphics, kind of like we've done in this one, you're going to need to reduce the file size by clicking on File, and then go down to Reduce File Size. Follow the dialog box there, and we'll reduce the copy. We'll call this one Sales Data 2 so we don't get confused. And there you go. It's all nicely reduced. You just follow the prompts and it'll take care of it. Now, to make things easier on processing on some Macs, you may need to save the spreadsheet as a package file. Now, this is advantageous if the file is over 500 megs in size. It's actually just pretty simple. Go to File, and then go down to Advanced, and then you can change the file type from a single file to a package file, and it will actually make it process a little bit faster on your Mac. Now, if you get some distance in and you realize you want to go back, maybe even a few days of work on a spreadsheet, perhaps you need to duplicate it and create multiple versions of it from a certain point, you can actually revert to a previous save and even browse previous versions like this. We'll go to File, and then we'll go down to Revert To. We can go to the last opened, or we can browse all the versions that we have and see we can scroll through each one of those as we go down through our timeline. It'll take us all the way back to see how far we have gone with the file. See, Numbers has got your back when you need to go back to a previous version. Okay, if you need to move a spreadsheet, that's most easily done by clicking the name of the sheet up here in the top bar, and then you can select what folder you'd like to move that to. You can also lock that by clicking the button right here that locks it. That will keep it from being moved or renamed. Simple, right? Now, if you want to password protect a sheet, for that you'll click on File and then go to Set Password. You'll type in your password and verify, and probably a good idea for a hint. Now, my MacBook happens to have Touch ID, so we have that option to open with Touch ID as well, and that will also give it the availability to open with Touch ID on a Touch ID enabled iPad or iPhone. So there you go, some security options. Now, it's your turn. Do this whole section on your own for a few minutes, and when you come back, we're going to wrap things up with my favorite part, keyboard shortcuts and where to find them. Okay, it's time to finish things up with some keyboard shortcuts. I would use an echo effect on that if they would let me, but anyway, keyboard shortcuts are my favorite because they cut your time spent editing down so much. That's why they're called shortcuts. Now, we've already been over a few of them. Command S for save, Command C for copy, Command V for paste, Command X for cut, Command Z for undo. Oh, by the way, all those are shown right up here in the edit menu. Command Z, Command X, Command C, Command V. All of those are right there next to the command that it takes care of. Command is the key right next to the space bar on your Mac keyboard, by the way. Of course, you have some standard keyboard shortcuts also, like Command O for open, Command N for new, Command P for print. You can even navigate between sheets on your document by using Command, Shift, and the bracket keys like this. Or if your document has 7 or less sheets in it, you can select those by using Command and then the numbers that represent the number of the sheet that it is. If you're formatting text, of course, you use Command B for bold, Command I for italics, Command U for underline. I think we may have covered all those. Now, there are far more keyboard shortcuts than this, but we're going to cut this short, pun intended, and I'll leave you with this. Click on Help, and then click on Keyboard Shortcuts. And look, you've got a whole list of keyboard shortcuts that are available for you to work with. So many things that you can do with your keyboard shortcuts in here. But the one thing I want to show you is this. These are the symbols that you'll need to remember. Command, Shift, Option, Control, of course, Return, and Function. If you know these, your shortcuts will very quickly make sense and you'll begin to memorize the ones that you use most often. Well, that wraps things up for today. What did we learn? Well, we started with the basics, opening and closing things, styles, cell functions. We moved on to content and even more functions, adding some charts and graphs, placing graphics, and even how to share and care. And we wrapped things up with my favorite part, of course, keyboard shortcuts. Hey, if you enjoyed this training, be sure to let us know, and also be sure to mention your humble tutor, James Hill, when you do. Thanks for joining us, and may your spreadsheets be awesome.
Thanks for watching. Don't forget we also offer live classes in Office applications, professional development, and private training. Visit Learnit.com for more details. Please remember to like and subscribe and let us know your thoughts in the comments. Thank you for choosing Learnit.